Here we are in Studio N6 at BBC Television Centre, home of the 10 o'clock news. In half a century of broadcasting TV news programmes, so much has changed, and by today, immediacy is one of the prime advantages of our medium. Day and night, from every part of the globe, we bring the news to millions of viewers. It's a non-stop operation. So let's take a look behind the scenes. BBC Television News makes a dozen different programmes each day, as well as producing BBC News 24 and BBC World around the clock.
That's all from Newsnight tonight. There is, of course, round-the-clock news coverage on BBC News 24, which is on cable, satellite and Freeview. Run one.
Greek authorities are blaming left-wing extremists for the homemade bombs placed near an Athens police station in the early hours of this morning.
More than two-thirds of adults here in the United Kingdom tune into BBC Television News each week.
It's not clear who set off the bombs. It's headed to Athens just now.
Kevin Backhurst is editor of the 10 o'clock news. 11 hours till we go on air, and he's chairing the morning programme meeting.
Okay, let's run through today very quickly.
The team meeting is kind of where really we shape what we're going to do on the programme later on, obviously subject to events, but we talk through the stories that, you know, I or the other output editor's got in mind, how we're going to do them, and they go and crack on with it. And then the top story of the night, Chelsea. Wow.
Is this truck arrived at the thing?
The news desk is sending out all the camera crews, correspondents and satellite trucks to cover today's stories.
Well, the main pain with the 10 o'clock news at the moment is they want to cover the Chelsea football match. It's a big story. They've got to the semi-finals, so a lot of resources in terms of trucks and camera crews are going to be tied up from mid-afternoon onwards on a story that's not happening too much later on.
Matt Fry, the Washington correspondent, is following President Bush on the campaign trail, a special commission from the 10 o'clock news.
Well, I was talking to Matt a few months ago about how we were going to cover the US election. And actually, this is the first proper kind of campaigning trip Bush has done on his bus. And we were offered a place on it, so it seemed obvious to me we should do it.
Slowly but surely dismantling Al-Qaeda.
At Television Centre, it's almost 1 o'clock.
3 bombs explode in Athens 100 days before the Olympics. Hello, welcome to the BBC's News at 1 o'clock.
Just over 6 hours till transmission, Kevin and the sports team plan tonight's coverage of Chelsea's crucial match in the Champions League.
The 10 o'clock news is regarded by a lot of people here as one of the flagship programmes BBC News does. So it's a kind of statement at the end of the day of what we think is important, what are the big stories. Obviously each programme needs a particular mix.
Meanwhile, in Washington, Matt Fry has begun to look through all the rushes he's filmed for his report.
We've got great anti-Bush protests, but more than that, we have a roadside fisticuffs, verbal fisticuffs between a pro-Bush and an anti-Bush supporter.
You want to see it?
Who didn't want to go fight like they go?
And as a soldier, when you enlist, you say, President, I am behind you. You are my boss. You are my commander-in-chief.
A young girl who's a Christian fundamentalist who should really be anti-Bush, but in this day and age. And then we have an older black guy who basically says Bush is Hitler. It's fantastic.
President Bush, I pray for President Bush every day, and I say,
How many times you
thank
pray
you
for
for having a Christian man who understands my values.
You pray for President Bush, wait a minute. You pray for President Bush.
I pray for everyone.
Back at Television Centre, the head of BBC Television News, Roger Mosey, chairs the editors' 4 o'clock meeting to talk about the day's agenda.
Matt has been out with Bush on his bus for 2 days. Dennis has gone down to do this piece about the hunger strike outside the door, and the most important story of the night, Chelsea. And if they win, I might lift it up a bit.
Hiya.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, all right.
Jolly good.
How was your trip?
It was fantastic, actually.
Was it?
By listening to his speech 8 times,
Yeah. Same speech, presumably.
The same speech with a few kind of, I mean, the Kerry jibes kind of changed a few times, but I mean, you know, you get the message of what, you know, and you really sort of understand what he's trying to do to get re-elected, and it's all about the war, basically.
Right. One of the main things is just to show what it's like out and about with Bush, and the fact you've been out with him for a couple of days.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, lots of shots of being hassled onto buses. Quite nice, this idea of, I mean, I think to keep in the middle, very, very briefly, this sort of, the breathlessness of it, get on, you know, get to the next, you know, get to the next location, one thing after another.
Good.
Okay,
Excellent. All right,
ciao,
good.
bye.
Bye.
It's just before 6 o'clock and the news is about to go on air.
What other families? You know, Doreen says she's still looking for justice. What are her options now?
I'm going to see what the Six are doing. I'm looking here.
I see ya.
At 6 o'clock, no justice for Stephen Lawrence's family.
A new trial is ruled out. His mother says she's angry and devastated.
The Attorney General has now widened his review to include cases authorities treated and leads 5 people.
5.5 million people watch the 6 o'clock news every day. Just over 90 minutes till we go on air, so it's time for me to change. And then I need to finish off writing my scripts.
Matt Fry joined the president in America's Midwest as his campaign bus took to the road. I think it needs more oomph, doesn't it? America's presidential election is still 4 months away.
I wonder why we were saying 6.
May, June, July, August, 6, isn't it?
6,
Yeah, when I said 4, I meant 6. Yeah. And he sent us this special report. Our correspondent Matt Fry has been travelling with the Bush campaign team in America's Midwest. He sent us this special report. Done? Very much.
In the BBC's Washington bureau, Matt is putting the finishing touches to his report.
Time to head back to Washington and to a sobering thought. No matter how hard Bush campaigns, it is events he can't control that will probably decide his fate. Matt Fry, BBC News, travelling with the President.
Matt's piece will be transmitted by satellite back to Television Centre. The pictures come here, the Satellite Coordination Centre in London. It brings pictures in from all over the world and routes individual reports to separate edit suites.
Oh, yes. Cheers for Chelsea. Fantastic. Well done. Very good. I'll do that.
The 10 o'clock news edit suite in London is waiting to take in Matt's report.
Can we roll it back? Roll it back. The wall. I'll find out which suite they're in.
Suite 11. Hello, Washington. We can see a tent.
While Matt is sending his piece from Washington, at home in Stamford Bridge, one of the 23 BBC News satellite trucks is making preparations to feed the Chelsea match report by Adam Parsons back to TV Centre. Needless to say, time is of the essence.
And how long is it?
3:13. They said 3:05 when they rang up, and somehow...
3:13?
Yeah.
Just 7 minutes before transmission, and time for me to get into the studio.
Yeah. Pretty good.
How are we doing?
Very well.
Very good.
BBC One now, the 10 o'clock news with Huw Edwards and Asad Ahmed.
1. Go, take
President Bush fights to save the reputation of US forces in Iraq. Cameras are allowed into the jail where Iraqi prisoners were abused and degraded. And Chelsea's great European dream has ended tonight in tears.
One of the great things I love about here is the programme has a fantastic profile.
How are you?
I've seen changes of policy and changes of the way people are operating because we've done the story.
Good evening.
The 10 o'clock news has a huge amount of impact and can make real changes to the way people see things in Britain.
Our correspondent Matt Fry has been travelling with the Bush campaign team in America's Midwest. He sent us this special report.
1TX.
In Lebanon, Ohio, they're waiting for a bus. George Bush has taken his quest for re-election to the road and to 2 states which could swing the result, Ohio and Michigan.
We've got to try and keep people engaged and tell them things that are close to home as well as around the world.
Huw Edwards mixed through.
Well, no word from Claudio Ranieri so far about his future.
Last time our nations and regions, please.
About the result. But you do wonder, with his team now out of Europe, just how much longer can this coach last in his job?
Deed Adam, thank you very much. Stamford Bridge.
And cut.
And we'll be back a little later with the latest on the day's headlines. Now it's time to join our news teams across the UK. Bye for now.
Opt out, cut. 6:30 on the opt.
Despite, ups and downs, by and large, people, when there are big events, turn to BBC News to see what the truth is and why it matters to them.
Newsnight's getting underway over on BBC Two, but from all of us here on the 10 o'clock team, good night.
2, 1, and they've gone. Thank you very much, everybody. Good programme.